Welcome to the Service95 Book Club with me, Lipa. Honestly, reading has been an anchor through every phase of my life, and this book club is a way of sharing that joy. Every month, I'll spotlight a book I've loved and sit down with the author for an open and honest conversation about the themes, the characters, and the world they've created. And because I've had the pleasure of speaking with so many brilliant writers already, I'll be opening the archive and bringing back one gem each month. So pour a glass, grab your book, and let's get into it. This month, we have something extra special for Christmas. I'm joined by Ingvild Rishøi, one of Norway's most beloved authors who's known for her compassionate and thought-provoking storytelling. Today, we're talking about her novel, Brightly Shining, a modern reinterpretation of the heart-rendering fairy tale, The Little Match Girl. Brightly Shining is the tender story of two sisters and their alcoholic father as they do their best to take care of each other at Christmas. My chat with Ingvild coming up. I've heard that you have quite like an unusual first draft of the manuscript.
Yeah, I have a system. This is a system. This is a system.
Oh, you have? Oh my gosh. Two motherless children and an alcoholic here. Can you please give us 2 more weeks?
That's the one time she's honest. Usually she lies about the reasons they can't. Yeah, but she tries being honest for once.
It's such an intense kind of 2 feelings at the same time. The empathy and the heartbreak.
That's what Ronja feels as well. So I wanted the reader to be in Ronja's position, to feel that he's a great dad, but he's not there to take care of her.
Hi, Ingvild.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. It's so lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. I mean, I have to say, your book wrecked me in the best possible way, I think. It was... You know, I first read it at the end of last year, and it was just in time for Christmas, actually. And I've been waiting for Christmas to come back around so that I can talk about it. I really love how you really center people at the margins, who I feel like are really often overlooked and misunderstood. And I feel like you write completely without judgment. And I think that's not a very easy thing to do. And, you know, it's a small book, but you just pack so much into it. And by the end of it, you know, I cared so deeply about the sisters, Melissa and Ronja. And I also really, really cared about their dad. You know, it's deeply empathetic. And while it has a really strong social message, like, it's also very beautifully magical. And there's a lot I want to ask you about it. So should we get stuck in?
Yes, thank you.
So, Brightly Shining is a Christmas story, but it's also very brutally real. It's about a family that's trying really, really hard to hold it together, and it's not clear if they're going to be able to or not. You know, for those who haven't read it, we're seeing the world through the eyes of 10-year-old Ronja, and she lives with her sister Melissa and their dad in Tøyen, which is a suburb of Oslo, and he clearly adores them. You know, he would be the ideal father, but the fact is that he's losing he's clearly losing this battle with alcoholism. And I guess at first there's hope. You know, he takes a seasonal Christmas tree selling job, and for a moment everything feels like it might be okay. Tell us a little bit about the dynamic between, you know, in that household and the relationship between the dad and the girls.
Yes, Ronja, she's 10 years old, so she's lived with her father for 10 years. And Melissa, she's 16, and she's seen him for 16 years, and she is the oldest, so she has had to take care of everything. So she has paid the bills, and she is losing hope.
Yeah.
And Ronja, she is hoping all the time, and she's also she thinks a lot about the good things that have happened, because there have been good things happening to them. And I think this is something that we often see in families who struggle with alcoholism, that the roles are very clearly divided between the kids. So both things are sad, actually, because Melissa, of course, she also loves her dad, but she can't show it. And Ronja, of course, she should be angry with him, but it's not possible to have all those feelings in your body at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. I want to touch back on a little bit more later on that childlike innocence and, you know, the hardships of what roles young children have to take, you know, in families who might be struggling or with, you know, absent parents. And, you know, Ronja's voice really completely transported me. You know, you capture not just what she sees, but how she makes sense of it. And I think that's quite a difficult thing for an adult to do. You know, how did you get into that childlike headspace, you know, to write so persuasively in that voice?
I just play. I don't think at all.
Really?
Yeah. So when I write my raw material, it's the thing I can compare it. Do you remember being a child and play role play?
Of course.
You are someone that you're not. And you know that I know that I'm still Ingvild. I'm not Ronja, but I play that I'm her, and I see the world.
That character.
And you'll always be or at least I was when I was playing when I was a kid. Or I wanted to go somewhere else. I'm never myself when I play, and not when I write. I like to be go somewhere. And so when I write, it's like being a kid playing, and I just note down everything that I think and that I see in my mind, and that's the raw material for the story. So I don't construct it. I just play it.
Do you get in some kind of like flow state to write it, and then you like piece it together later? Like, I've heard that you have quite like an unusual first draft of the manuscript.
Yeah, I have a system. This is the system. This is a system.
Oh, you have? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What an amazing relic you have.
Yeah. So this is brightly shining, the first draft of it. Yeah. So, and what I do is after quite a long time of this play period where I just write anything that comes to my mind, I feel that there's a story in there. But when I write the raw material, I try not to think at all. I don't want to think about who is the reader, or how will this be interpreted, or how will the ending be. Because if you watch children play, I like to watch children play, and they play. But if you go into their game and say, "Oh, what about the ending? The ending doesn't work on your game." Yeah, the play is over, right? Or where's the antagonist in your game? It's over. So I try to keep all those voices out of my head when I write the raw material, and then after a while I feel maybe there's a story in there, and very often it's not. There's no story. It's just exercise or play game. But sometimes there is a story, and what I do to see if there's a story is I take a print out and put it on the floor in my apartment, and then I'm not a child anymore. Then I'm me.
Back to you.
Yeah. And it's craft. I crawl around on the floor and I look for pieces that I think have some literature. Yeah. So I cut it with scissors and make different piles. And this is the present, or this is the past, and this is this narrator and another one. And then I glue it all together in the system, which is this.
Oh my
with
gosh.
Scotch tape. Yeah.
And so in there you have all the cut up pieces, and they're all glued in together in like the...
Yeah. And then this is the first... It's not possible to read it, I think. But
Amazing.
Here I can write, okay, here, this is Norwegian. Noe in her means something in here.
Amazing.
Yeah. So,
it's like you're digging for treasure. That must be so exciting, that part, kind of sitting in and deciding whether you've got a story or something that's got teeth in it, as I like to say.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's still, after this comes a really long period of editing. So this is not readable.
The dad really broke my heart. He clearly adores his girls, and he wants to be a great dad. And I thought that writing him through Ronja's eyes was particularly poignant, as she's completely uncynical and she's always hopeful, like we said. And, she always thinks he could get better, and every morning could be the last day that he drinks, and he could be the perfect dad again. How difficult was it to write this character? Like, I think you do it beautifully.
Thank you. Well, that was difficult because as it's a short novel, if I include one scene or delete one scene, the impression on the reader will be different. So I actually tried it on many readers, and I asked them, do you like the dad now? Do you like him now? Do you like him now? They read the whole book, and because if you include one more scene where he's a good dad, their impression will shift towards they like him. Yeah. So that was a big job, and I'm very glad that you like him, but you also, I hope you also think he's not a functioning father.
Of course, no, completely. But I think there's so much empathy attached to somebody who's really struggling. You know, there is some kind of knowledge of knowing that sometimes it's not entirely their fault, and sometimes they want to get the help and they can't. And I don't know, it's such an intense kind of two feelings at the same time, the empathy and the heartbreak.
And that's what Ronja feels as well. So I wanted the reader to be in Ronja's position, to feel that he's a great dad, but he's not there to take care of her.
No, completely. I also think the relationship between Ronja and Melissa, you know, it's like that's like the heart of the book to me. Obviously, it's like it's affectionate and protective on both sides, and I thought that you showed perfectly how they had to grow up pretty fast. You know, one of the consequences, like I said earlier, of an absent parent is often that the sibling becomes more of like the parent. You know, the relationship becomes more parent-child.
Yeah, and I think that's Melissa's job in this family, is to take care of Ronja. And I think as a grown-ups, we'll often feel when we see children like that, we will tend to tell them, no, this is not your job, you shouldn't do this. But I think it's also important to tell kids like Melissa that, well, this job, you do it really well. You are able to take care of your sister and your father isn't. So you can't place these children in a foster home or in two different homes and everything will be fixed. The situation is too complex, and this is really what Melissa knows how to do. And I think we should give her some
a lot of credit.
Yes, I think so.
A lot of credit and a lot
Yeah.
of attention for all that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she does a big job, and it's kind of, you know, it's hard. No child should really have to be the parent at such a young age, and to take it on herself, you know, it's no easy task. There's a line when Melissa is phoning around to buy time on the bills that they owe, and she asks, 2 motherless children and an alcoholic here. Can you please give us 2 more weeks? My God, that really nailed it for me.
That's the one time she's honest. Usually she lies about the reasons they can't. Yeah, but she tries being honest for once. I think that's
for once
funny. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny, but also, you know, it's just it's so like it's so embedded in their reality. You know, she's like, well, this is what it is, and right now I'm just really struggling to pay these bills. You know, people often compare this book to Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Little Match Girl, and you even reference it in the story, in the scene where the girls are fantasizing about decorating a Christmas tree, and it starts with Ronja, and it says, "Yeah," I say, "like in The Little Match Girl." "Don't think about that," Melissa said. "That's the saddest story ever." "But remember the tree," I said. "Don't you remember the tree that she's looking at?" "She's hallucinating," Melissa said. "Don't think about that. She dies in the end, you know." "She doesn't die," I said. "She goes to her grandma." I can't bear to think of this as like straightforward retelling. Like it's just too sad. But, you know, it's true, isn't it? That when you're so young, that it's really impossible to kind of believe that that bad things might happen, you know. So even in the saddest story ever, you imagine a happy ending. And it's that innocence, particularly how she sees her life and her dad, right?
Mm. And I thought, when I realized this was a Christmas story, in Norway, this story, The Little Match Girl, is very famous. It's the most famous Christmas story. So I thought I couldn't write this Christmas story about with a small girl as the main character without referring to that, you know. And she also uses that to her advantage, because when she starts working at the Christmas tree market, she plays the role for a little matchy girl to get the middle class customers to buy her stuff. And so she's far tougher than the match girl. Yeah.
Totally. I think the parallel of these two stories, you know, gives your book such like a timeless feeling as well. You know, it reminds us that children's struggles haven't disappeared, but maybe they're just a bit more hidden.
I think it's I tried to make it timeless, and I tried also to make it, I think it had to happen somewhere. So it happens in Oslo, where I live, in Tøyen, which is a part of the city with the highest level of child poverty. But that was not why I set it on Tøyen, because the reason I set it on Tøyen is that it's Tøyen in my head. But it's important to me that this is not a story that could only happen in Oslo or in Tøyen. It could happen everywhere, and it does happen everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, something that didn't exist in Hans Christian Andersen's day is the welfare state. And, you know, as the story progresses, Dad is back in the pub, the girls are living on Frosties, and there's this constant fear that child services might come to get them and separate them.
It's complex, and if children who live more or less like Ronja and Melissa read this book, or maybe they'll see the film that's made of the book, so then maybe they'll feel someone has been there before them, and there's comfort in that. There's no solution. I can't offer any solution to those kids, but there might be some comfort in seeing that somebody knows how you feel. You're not alone, because there are so many lies when you live in a family with addiction or other problems. There are always lies. I never saw a family with addiction problems where there's not also lots of lies, and that's sometimes then the kids, they don't even know what's true. So hopefully, if they read this book, maybe they will ask their teacher or somebody they know, and maybe also tell.
No, totally. I think the representation of things like this, especially for young children, it's important for them to read in books and to know about it, and to feel less alone. I think our job as, you know, creatives is to try and put stories out into the world that might give people a sense of safety and being seen and heard. And so absolutely.
That's what I'd like myself when we're in trouble as grown-ups. If you have a heartache, you go to a friend, you don't want to hear, "Oh, I had a heartache, but now everything is fixed." You'd like to hear, "I had a heartache. I feel you. I know how that feels."
I completely know exactly what it's like.
So I don't have any solution.
Yeah, it's beautiful, because it is just about being present, being there, and showing, you know, all kinds of people, not just children, that you're not alone. There's a moment where even Ronja kind of loses patience with her dad. She's working illegally at the Christmas tree lot, and her dad's disappeared again. And he's barely getting a mention, but then she finally loses it when he's lying comatose on the living room floor, and she screams at him for never buying vacuum cleaner bags. And at this point, it's not really about the vacuum cleaner bags, is it?
No,
you know,
no.
That's always the case, isn't it? It's like you kind of you suppress all these feelings down, and then something terrible happens, and you think about the most mundane thing to be upset about when the problem is so much bigger.
And it's also very difficult to buy the right vacuum cleaner bag.
At the same time as a kid, yeah.
For me as well. I think it's very hard. Yeah. But he lies there on the floor in dust, so she sees all this stuff on the floor, and she wants the house to be clean, and she wants him to wake up, and she screams about the vacuum cleaner. I struggled a lot with that scene, because... Oh,
you did?
Yeah. He woke up for a while, and then it didn't work, and then she was more sad for a while, and then it didn't work, and now this, where she is very angry, I think that works.
Yeah, it works. It works really, really well. There's also this lovely supporting cast of characters, you know, who kind of orbit the family, such as Musa, Ronja's school friend, and his dad, and then there's Tommy, Melissa's boss, and Aronson, who lives down the hall, and of course the school caretaker, and they're all kind in small ways. And I wondered whether it was deliberate that they're all men.
No, it wasn't. But my best friend, she read the book while it was still draft, and she said, "Oh, it's fun. They're all men." And I thought, okay, they're all men, yeah. But why? I won't change that. because they were all men when they came to me.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting because I thought because of the absence of the father and the difficulty there, that maybe that was like a deeper message. But I guess the way that you work is like these ideas, they just come to you, and that's how they live, which is really beautiful. But there are, all these caring people in the community, but these are, 2 young girls who are clearly struggling and really vulnerable. And I suppose my question is, should they have done more to help? Should these people have stepped in more?
That's difficult, because I think it's very brave. Like the neighbor, he knocks on their door and he tells them when there's too much partying going on, when the father parties too hard or drinks too much. And I think that's a very brave thing to do. And I also think that maybe if he called somebody to get what you might call real help, maybe that would help Ronja less, because she feels safe with this neighbor, and then maybe she would feel not so safe anymore. And I also think it's very good for children if you talk to them directly, like he does. He, or the caretaker at school, he really he says, your father, he's drinking too much, or he says it in his own words, but because there are so many lies connected to addiction, it's a great job to just tell the kid what's going on. You'll be rejected if you do that to a kid. If you say there's too much partying in your apartment, the kid will say no. But even so, I think it's important to hear somebody tell the truth.
Totally. I loved Aronson, the neighbor that you mentioned. I he kind of becomes like a grandfather figure to Ronja. And, he irons her costume for school performance at 6 a.m, and he seems to know intuitively when she needs him. He often knocks on the door to complain when dad is drunk, but he never calls the police or social services. And you're right, it is really, really beautiful that she trusts him. Did you enjoy writing this character?
Very much. Very much. I had a friend who said, is that an Aronson in your life? And I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, oh, how good for him that you invented him.
Yeah. Lucky him to have such a nice character. Totally. Without giving too much away, we need to talk about the ending. People read it in such different ways. I have friends who have read it completely differently to me. And I mean, how literally should we take it?
I'm actually happy when you say your friends read it differently from you, because I wanted it to be possible to read the ending in different ways, and for the reader to choose, what do you believe in? So maybe this is spoiling. It might spoil the ending, but
bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, but some readers think they die. The girls die in the end. And I wanted that to be a possibility, and some readers think that there's real magic. They are taken to the world that they dream of, because I tried to make some magic earlier in the book as well. Yeah, and some people think that Ronja is losing it, or she does not longer know what's real and what's not. Not many readers think that, but that was important to me, because I know that if you live with lots of lies, you might start losing grip on what's real and not, and that's important. And then there's 1/4 solution that I regret. Because Ronja, she gets a pill earlier in the book. She gets a pill from one of her dad's drinking buddies, and then it's possible to read the ending like a hallucination.
Yeah.
And I regret that. You might tear that page out if you like.
Really?
The page with the pill. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because I mean, all 3 of those options came up within my friend group. Even the hallucination thing, but I guess it's it's meant to be a painkiller, but it could be a drug. In that cabin in the snowy woods, which holds such a special place in Ronja's memory. The significance of the cabin as a family tradition is really special in Norway, right?
Yes, yes. And also to go into the woods, or we live, there are not many people here.
Yeah, right. So
yeah.
you're quite isolated.
Yes, and we want even more isolation. That's quite strange.
Yeah.
Because people who live in cities, they want to go out in the woods. Not all, but many dream of
Yeah. It's part of the tradition out there. And then the magic that you mentioned, there's this quote from the school caretaker that I really loved. And he says, miracles do happen. Sometimes there just isn't any other way out. And that's when a miracle happens. And I thought that was just really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
And there's actually, you mentioned the film version of the book that has just come out in Norway, which I got to see recently. And it's really beautiful. And as I knew it would be, because you wrote the screenplay, which is also not very easy. Not very many authors choose to do both. But you changed the ending a bit, which really got me thinking, what led you to do that, and were you trying to help us better understand the ending of the book?
I left out a pill, at least.
Yeah.
I got a new take. And
another chance.
Yes, another chance. We worked a lot with the ending. I worked with the director, Ida Sagbotvedt. We were writing the script together, and we worked with the ending until the end, actually. So it was difficult because we wanted it to be open, but also there's an age limit on films, and there's not on books, So we wanted it to be possible for kids to see the film. So the age limit is 9 years old. I hope that kids who see the film think they don't die.
Right. Totally. Yeah. That there is some kind of happier ending, I suppose, and hope. Yeah.
But I also want grown-ups who see the film to think that this might be a fantasy. Because it's when the lights, the city's lit up, and it's almost too good to be true. I would like it to still be open, but maybe it's not as open as the book. I think the audience are not as confused as the readers of the book.
Yeah, I think there's beauty in both things. Sometimes like ambiguity allows people to kind of make their own decision. I think with film, sometimes it is really nice to give people closure. Yeah. So I think you do both things. Very, very well. You've described before how intense and solitary your writing process is. So I wonder, like, working on a film where you wrote with a director. How was it for you writing in a team?
It was really fun, but I thought I wouldn't do it. When they bought the rights, I thought, okay, I'll sell the rights and I'll step back. Okay. So I tried to.
You're like, no, this is my baby.
Yeah, and also Ida, she knew about this writing process that I have because I've talked about it in interviews, and she knew that there was more raw material that I hadn't used for the book. So she wanted to see that material, to see if there was something she could use for the film. So I showed her. She wanted more of Musse, Ronja's friend.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much about Musse in my raw material. And then she said, yeah, but what if he was to have a project? What could be his project? And then I suddenly thought, well, I know he wants to be a star. He wants to be a singer. And then it felt natural for me to write new raw material to give her. And then suddenly I was involved in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I also loved seeing a bit more of Musse
he's a nice guy.
Yeah. I really recommend people checking to see if the film is released where they live, because it's really, really very beautiful. Ingvild, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. This book really, really stayed with me, and it made me think about children living with addiction, about the vulnerable people living at the margins, and about the importance of community and kindness, and particularly at this time of the year. So what do you hope readers carry away with them after reading Brightly Shining?
Mostly, I hope they feel they read a good book. But then if they...
That I'm sure of.
Well, thank you. But I also think that if they could be a little more like the neighbor Aronsen in their own lives, I think that would be great. Because we all need help sometimes, and one day is you and another day is your neighbor.
Totally. I love that. I love that. That actually gave me goosebumps a little bit. Ingvild, thank you so much for joining me today and for writing such a magical and important book. And for those who want more, there is an English translation of your book, Winter Stories, which is published this month. And honestly, together with Brightly Shining, it's the perfect Christmas gift. There's also the film, which is available in a number of countries, so I recommend people go online and see where they can watch that, as it's really, really beautiful. You've also provided us with a reading from the book, a reading list and a playlist, which I understand is like a proper old school mixtape, and I can't wait to hear it. And all of this can be found on service95.com and on our socials at Service95 Book Club. And anyone who joins for the free Service95 Book Club newsletter will get all of this exclusive content in a monthly roundup. Ingvild, thank you again so much. And of course, Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Thanks for listening. Along with my new monthly reads, I'll also be sharing a conversation from the archive, some of my favorite chats with the world's best writers over the past couple of years. Trust me, you won't want to miss them. Make sure you're following the Service95 Book Club podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you love this one, why not leave us a review? Thanks so much for listening, and see you next time.